So good morning for everyone and welcome, and I'm really happy to be here and a little bit excited to be here today, and I hope that you will enjoy the presentation. My name is Kirsikka Vaajakallio and I come from Diagonal as a service designer here, and since Pauliina Tenho, who was the project manager and was supposed to be presenting today, is unfortunately ill, so I will be presenting with my colleague Jukka and Juha Vasko from Finavia, the project and the outcomes of it. And Juha will start by telling you a little bit about the background and the reasons why this project was started in the first place. And after that, me and Jukka will then continue with a little bit more detail about the process and the actual outcomes.
Okay, thank you, Kirsikka. My name is Juha Vasko. I work as a service development manager at the Finavia. So we operate 24 airports at the moment in Finland. And this project actually started almost exactly a year ago. So it's a whole year, and parts of it with our partners. But the actual positive problem that we had was that during the years, we started to pile up ideas what we actually would like to see at the airport. And we ended up around 200 ideas, which were small or big, but they were ideas anyway, about how could we actually enhance the customer experience at the airports. And some of them were really, as I said, big investment projects, and some of them were just tiny bits. But we sort of didn't have a system how to go on with the ideas. So in that point, we asked for help, and we had a tour with some of the service providers around here, where we showed the problem, and the problem was that our transfer passengers, it's a quite relatively small amount of time what they spend at the airport, and we walked it from non-Schengen area to Schengen area and backwards, and all the people we invited saw what was the problem. So we had a fixed price, and we said, okay, with this price, what would you like to do with this problem? And then we ended up getting really nice ideas. How to solve or how to go on with the problem, and we ended up working with Diagonal, and then we had a Hapnik and Steve, which are sort of one-man shows. They were part of this initiative in the beginning. Just two more ideas about where the 200 ideas came from. So we have a quite long history with our biggest client, Finnair, with the Quality Hunters initiative, which is a cooperative work with the customers, where the ideas flow quite openly. And there's been 3 sections already, or three different Quality Hunters programs. And from those programs, we ended up with the quite high quality ideas of what we actually need at the airport. So that was one channel to get the ideas. Then the others were feedback, just research, customer insights that we get from several directions, and then our own personnel or whoever just send us a line. Okay, I think I saw this one at this airport. Maybe we should do the same, or things like this. But okay. Well, like I said, the transfer passengers was the main focus of this project, and that was where we actually worked quite a lot. So for many of you, you probably didn't even see Travellab at the airport, even though you travel there, because quite many locals don't actually fly to non-Schengen areas. They fly around Europe. So quite many of the things we did were actually on the non-Schengen area. Okay, from this we started with Diagonal, and they will go through the presentation. I will try to add something on.
Yes. All right. So what we created was a concept called Travellab, and the basic idea was to clear Finavia's desk of these ideas, because everyone knows if you have 200 good ideas but you don't know whether to proceed with some of them or not, you only end up having a huge stress about the opportunities that you cannot utilize. So about Travellab, the basic idea that it's an effective and reliable experimental model for testing ideas affecting and improving the transfer passenger experience in Helsinki Airport. And this is one of our many group photos during the fun project. And Kirsikka will tell you a bit about how Travellab and this kind of prototyping project ties up with the service design process.
Yeah, so we wanted to give a bit of an overview because as you well know that there are a lot of different kind of definitions about service design depending on the design team's background, the context, the applied processes, methods and so forth. If we look about this quite typical service design process, we can see that the Travellab was only touching on some parts of it. So as you heard from the Juha, as you heard from the Juha, we actually started with the already existing 200 plus ideas. And through prioritizing and categorizing them together with the Finavia management, we came up with the 12 prototypes that were then tested later on. So the focus was mainly on how to transform these ideas into the prototypes that can be tested in the field, in the real context with the Finavia's real customers. And then one really big focus area was also how we can evaluate, how we can measure the impact for the customer experience in the airport, whether it will be better or not, and also what kind of business cases there might be in those prototypes. So it's mainly touched upon these three areas here, but of course the process from understanding to concretizing and doing these prototypes were not this straightforward, but there was a lot of work and designing the prototype, so how these individual different kind of ideas can be actually prototyped with the customers in the airport. But this is just to give a bit of an overview. When we talk about the service design in this project, we mainly talk about these parts of it. And at the moment, the process continues in the Finavia. So we can't, of course, tell you yet what's going to be there. So you will see maybe later next year or so that what of these ideas they have been taken forward.
All right, and then we get into more detail about what we actually did in Travellab and with what kind of structure. So because it was really, let's say, a widespread project, because of the ideas, you will see that they were on a wide range, so to say. So we had to agree on some kind of targeted benefits before we started the project. And with the help of the management of the Helsinki Airport, we decided that we have three targeted benefits. And the first one that we really wanted to show that there is a clear value on the whole prototyping process in the airport context, that when we consistently test ideas and validate them, so we have really a good possibility to de-risk bigger investments before actually going forward. So one was prototyping and how it ties with de-risking. And then of course the communicational advantages and the advantages for the Helsinki Airport image. That was one clear target. Because of this kind of project, there's a lot of interesting ideas, and during the actions you get a lot of nice material, and you get all the passengers also involved in those prototyping. So it was clear from the beginning that we had to utilize and maximize the media coverage during this project to support the kind of dynamic image that Helsinki Airport is really looking for. So that was the second target. And then the third target was tied with the bigger strategical growth of Helsinki Airport. I think as you all know, that has also been a lot in media, that Helsinki Airport is about to double its size almost by year 2020. So in this process, they already had the mindset that it's not going to be just building more facilities, but also having the customer experience thinking during that process. And with this prototyping project, we had to evaluate and deliver also clear ideas on the future expansion, that how they can systematically keep the customer experience thinking with the growth of the airport. Then Kirsikka, you could tell about the Travellab setup and the schedule.
Yes, so how it was in practice. The project was organized through 3 different components. One was this mobile booth in the airport, so that we were able to store things and be invisible there. Then another one was a diagonal design team with international trainees for designing, coordinating and building the prototypes and gathering this customer feedback. And it was important that we were able to do it in English, Finnish, Russian, Chinese, Japanese and Korean. So that's why we needed to have this extra helping hands and the different nationalities to work with us. And then the third part was this project room as a back office in the airport premises as well. And that was mainly used for the team meetings and the preparations and analyzing and so forth. And the process itself, as you can see in the below, that was divided into 4 main parts. And this Lab 1 and Lab 2, they were the main prototyping periods, both taking 8 weeks. And before that, there was, of course, this kickoff and preparation part. And then in the end, this analysis and wrap-up, so that we were able to evaluate and measure the customer experience impact.
Yeah, and maybe to sum up with that in this project, it was specifically one important thing for Finavia as a customer, that we are present there in the context and working with the customer as much as possible. So, and that also was actually helping with the project, because Juha was kindly arranging all the back offices to the airport, and also we got into quite a lot of issues and discussions how we can get this kind of mobile lab to the airside, because there are some safety issues that you have to have in mind.
And of course we had the nice laboratory jackets, as you can see, so that the team was visible there.
Yes. Okay, and then that was the process we had, but then actually what was our idea on narrowing down from the starting here with the 200 ideas that we had on the table, how we can actually during this kind of 2 lab sessions funnel validated and good ideas to some kind of implementation decisions. So we created this idea funnel for the Travellab, and basically there is 4 stages, and I will go through it in brief now. So the beginning point was that we had the 200 ideas, and the first step was to roughly squeeze it down to a smaller 40-50 ideas that we can actually work with. So in that we used this web-based platform and those quality hunters that are the customer group with Finnair and Finavia. We used them to evaluate and decide on which ideas we should continue working with. And then
maybe I can add one thing on that. At the same time, we also conducted a quite thorough transfer passenger insight study, and this was something that we sort of had a parallel track with the Travellab. So that was a really big research project going on at the same time, and we constantly used the insight we got from that project into this, and that was one of the validation tools as well.
Yes. So we had a quite solid ground to start prioritizing, and then when we narrowed the ideas down, then the next step was actually to work with the steering group of this project, and to do this next evaluations based on the Finavia steering group ideas, that which ideas actually we should prototype. So when we got to the third stage, that was designing the prototypes. Okay, we have one idea. How can we actually test it so that it's reliable and we can measure the impact on customer experience. And after the prototype is designed, then it was scheduled when to go through with it, and then after also for each prototype we designed a unique way to measure the impact for the further analysis. So after the prototyping, then we had the analysis phase, and from that moment on, we had the clear idea whether to put the idea aside if it's not working, or whether to go to the next phase, which is the further evaluation, the ranking model, which we will be talking later on. But this was kind of the process for funneling down from a big amount of ideas to a small 12 tested, prototyped ideas. And this we did two times in each lab, in lab 1 and lab 2, the same kind of cycle.
And it was also really important to find these things that we can put to the trash can, so that, okay, these are something that should maybe not be developed further.
Yes.
And if we look a little bit about the different kind of prototypes, so there were altogether 12, and some of them were targeted for more specific user group or customer group, such as the Follow the Rabbit, that was for the families traveling with children, and how they can more easily and playful way to find the way to the children's playground, which was currently quite hidden. And then some of them were, of course, like security check is something that touches on everyone who travels. So in that sense, they were quite different as well. And whereas the Follow the Rabbit was mainly about finding the paths and making the stickers to the floors, and the children can follow them. Of course, the security check or yoga gate or these events demanded much more different kind of preparations, and all the time being active and changing those things when we learned. So quite iterative process, and you can see here that there was the security check 1 and 2, so it always means that we had two quite different kind of versions of them during this. So for example, in the first lab we had one version, and then we iterated based on the experiences to the next one. And so many of these were like a couple of times or in a longer period of time. Like the selfie from hell, that was a photo wall. You can see the picture later, which was of course there all the time, but we a little bit changed the pictures and the place and so on. But of course the events such as a midsummer party or restaurant day are something that we only organized once. Finavia already had this kind of way of categorizing different kind of services that they provide there in the airport. And we also used the same categorization. So some of these prototypes were more about bringing unique customer experiences, adding something to the basic line, whereas some of them were more like trying to make it more smooth and taking away the barriers and helping just to use the normal service. And then of course, there are a couple of these core functions, just like the security check, which just you need to use all the time, and those need to be really well and effective way of working. And that's also was a bit of the challenge there in the environment as such, that in the airport, it's really these core functions need to function. So when you take these kind of prototypes and start iterating, testing, you don't know what happens. So you need to all the time be careful that you are not making it more difficult for the customers, the normal processes. And just some pictures on the way.
Well, I can have a brief say about these. These were really fantastic things. Just to sort of clarify why we actually wanted to go on like this, to be really in the center of the customer, the passenger flow, customer flow, because in the beginning, in the brief, actually, I forgot to say, but the whole idea was not to plan something far away, but to bring the planning and the knowledge sort of gathering and the insight gathering and the actual action to the customers. So one of the drivers for this project was to by designing new things, also enhance the passenger experience at the same time. And quite often it's not the case. You sort of plan something first, and then the effect will come after that. But we wanted to combine it. So we really got good feedback from the passengers when we did it with them and with the codes and the sort of setup. You could say, okay, we're testing something. This is not perfect, but this is something. And well, nobody left crying. So it's quite good. So this from the midsummer party, just a lot of things to do with your hands. There was dancing, music, birch trees, different kind of foods from Finnish nature and things like this. Sort of tested out like what types of things are relevant and what are not. This part of the photo wall thing, I really enjoyed this because it's a really simple thing. It's something tangible that you will actually get with you when you leave Helsinki Airport. The average time of spending in Helsinki Airport is around 1.5 hours. So it's only 1.5 hours in Finland for many of the passengers we interact with. So this is something that we will. They want to take the pictures, so that's what they take with them in a sense. Yeah, in a sense, that's something. Yeah. Well, about the yoga gate, you probably heard about it. I will say a few things more about that. Then we had a gate roastery. So we started delivering services to people who actually don't move at all. They're just stuck in the chairs like you are now. So also changing the mindset of how you can actually access some of the services. Okay. Well, like I said, the yoga gate. Jaakko can continue, but this was like in a sort of reach way. One of the top things that we actually got. So I think the reach was around 5 million, and still there's a lot of emails and calls regarding this. So I think with this one we really touched something that is a booming trend, and that's something we're going to work on in the future quite a lot. But was there something more about your? I think that was quite good.
I think that was. We had this one target of maximizing the media coverage in this project. So this yoga gate was something unexpected that it actually topped our target many times. But then to the outcomes, there is some numbers about Travellab. What we had there. It was 900 passengers interviewed, and 20 iterations of prototypes, over 80 mentions in websites and blogs, 11 tested prototypes, over 50 companies, partners that were involved, 15,000 people in some kind of Q&A involved, quite a lot of extensive media coverage, and over 75 days spent at the airport. So quite an extensive project in many ways. And what we created on top of the prototypes, through this experience we created a model, the first model for Finavia for prototyping. We included our experiences and the contextual challenges and all that learnings and know-how we changed to a tool or a model that how it can guide actually Finavia staff to continue this way of rapid checking of ideas. And then we also included some good practices on or success factors that can actually help you succeed. The second one was the ranking model I talked about earlier. It was about if we think that in any company why we prototype the ideas, it's because we want to make investment decisions. And in the end of the day, what counts is that actually do we have some good and comparable criteria for ideas that can be, you know, guidance to the children's playroom and security check enhancement. So how can we actually compare these? It's really difficult because they are on different levels of the service and of the customer experience. So with the ranking model, we did this kind of we added or combined the qualitative and quantitative insight and 5 different dimensions we wanted to measure. First, we wanted to measure the impact of the customer experience on the customer experience, and then the reliability of the prototype, whether it was done well enough that we can actually rely that, okay, based on these results, we can go further or not. And then the sense of urgency, whether the idea, the prototype idea is so important, for example, depending on the competition or some other factors. So how quick should we go forward with this idea? And then the cost efficiency, whether the idea is actually bringing more money in or costing money and how much. And then the alignment with strategy. We all know that there is in every business a lot of good ideas to execute, but you have to align those ideas with strategy. There is no single company that can actually do everything for the customer. So also that matters. And combining these dimensions and evaluations, we get this overall score for one prototype, and that actually then helps to compare these different ideas. And then we also mapped. There are some of the best practices, but a lot of best practices for Finavia that actually we combined with the contextual understanding and actually challenges, because there is a lot of security issues, for example, in the airport contexts. And of course, we made decisions, and Juha can
in a minute.
Yeah.
So out of those 200, we ended up doing 12 prototypes, but some of them will be in a way implemented in almost the same way that we tested it out. Such as the selfies from hell. I think we will go forward with that one. We are looking for options how to do it actually. The gate roastery, for example, we know that the mobility of services needs to be there. In the future, we will even have a bigger bigger airport, not the double size,
Almost.
but we are targeting 20 million. At the moment we have 15 million. So 5 more millions, not double, in 2020. Otherwise, we will be in trouble. Well, the service menu, for example, that was sort of curated offering of services that we have. Currently, we are sort of offering everything to everyone, and that's not going to work. And when we are developing our online services and also tangible information booths or booklets, the idea of who we are targeting is getting more into it. And this is something that we just didn't used to do beforehand. The sort of midsummer restaurant day, like events. There will be more events. So the event is of course for it's always for some group of people and not sort of everlasting. But these events will happen more and more, and there's a more joint venture going on with the service providers at the airport. So there will be more of sort of overall events as well, and so forth. Well, just to mention the Yoga Gate, I think that opened a Pandora's box for us for health and well-being services at the airports. It's a highly booming industry, and I think we will see more and more services like this at the airports as well.
The official time is out. I will just